Welcome everybody. My name is Colton from Zim2 Capital. Today I'm here with James Walker, President and CEO of ARS Strategic Mining. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Colton. Happy to be here.
So we're just here to give an update to shareholders. So first question I have for you there is, recently made a switch over to the CSE. So what were the major reasons to do so?
We have a lot of things we need to enact, and a disclosure-based arrangement with an exchange is just a faster way to execute on management plans. With the TSX, you need a lot more approvals process, and we didn't want the delays to management decisions affecting anything like production or development work. It just really was about expediting the process to move along as fast as possible, especially when you've got a lot of stuff to approve and get through.
Is there any update on the Lost Sheep project in Utah?
Yeah, well, that's where our main focus is at the moment. So, there's a news release that's just gone out about how we've fully bought all the infrastructure steel now, and so that's in the process of being fabricated. We haven't put out many updates just because we've just been concentrating on the engineering side of things. But obviously, I think based on shareholder sentiment, we're going to try and just keep more updates coming out in the next few weeks, just to keep everyone abreast of all the developments that are going on down there.
So that's the steel for the Lums plant?
That's right. So it's a twofold thing. So we can save a lot of money on foundations if we use a steel foundation system, and the frame that within the Lums plant will sit, because it's a 3-story system, will be housed within this steel infrastructure. So we did have a bit of issue in the US because there's a backlog of steel over there at the moment, and so when we went back to the original supplier that we were going to go to, the price had tripled and the backlog was enormous. So we got the plant manufacturer that manufactured our Lums plant to fabricate the steel for us, and we were going to ship it all together. Although because everyone's getting restless, I think we're going to shift the plant shipping forward, and just to give everyone some reassurance that things are progressing well, and the plant can get onto site, so everyone's a bit more reassured of that.
Okay, great. So it sounds like the steel's coming in, so we're almost ready to get going on the Lums plant. Is there any other update at Lost Sheep?
While we were doing that 4301 previously, we spent a lot of time. We took a geological team across the entire Spore Mountain area, and we did a detailed mapping exercise, and we identified about 160 different drill targets. And so that was always the intention, is to do that detailed exercise, but we just moved it forward. And that basically just gives us all the targets we would need for the coming years and potentially decades, for the exploration program, just to prove up more mining targets for the future. And so after we actually completed that whole mapping exercise, we went outside of the Spore Mountain area too, and we started looking at extended areas, and we more than doubled our land position. So we went in there and bought up everything. So I think we increased our land position by about 3,800 acres. So we own about 6,000 acres now of that Spore Mountain area. So the entire district scale.
So those new drill targets, are those in this expanded land area, or?
Yeah, they're all within our claim area.
So in the new area or in the old existing?
Both now.
Both, okay.
Both now. So we obviously prioritized the things we already owned, but once we'd done that, we went outside of that area and we expanded our search, because we had the team to do it, and they allocated some of their resources through it, and they spent an enormous amount of time doing some very detailed work, and based on that we went and claimed up another 3,800 acres of fluorspar prospects. So.
That's great. Well, so that's the Lost Sheep project. Now, you recently had news about a Vanadium property. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep, that's a bit more of a longer-term strategy, but there's a twofold idea behind that. Is that the Vanadium property, from what we're looking at, is a magnetite-based property, and we've done some very basic metallurgical work that shows that if you just drill and blast it and you can magnetically separate, you can create a concentrate that looks suitable for the steel mills. So it would be a very basic quarrying operation that would be very cheap, and we were looking at that as a next strategy for a long-term project to supply the Canadian industry with iron, as it becomes a bit more, domestic supply chains could become a bit more strained. It's not as obviously as forefront in our activities as the Lost Sheep down in Utah, but we want to, keep on packing up the long-term prospects. And this was an excellent one. Very basic operation, wouldn't require huge environmental permitting because there'd be no chemicals or any.
So where is this property?
It's up in Kamloops.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's not too far from here. So.
Great. And so vanadium, anybody that might not be familiar, what is vanadium mainly used for?
So vanadium itself is, if you think about a lithium battery, if you were to want a large-scale lithium battery, you wouldn't use lithium, you would use a vanadium battery because it retains the charge better. So say, for instance, if there was a power cut to a hospital, you would have a vanadium battery that would back up the hospital. If you had a city grid that was to go down, you would have a large-scale vanadium battery.
Yeah.
Because a lithium does lose efficiency when it gets to certain scales, whereas vanadium has properties that allows for greater storage without any loss of efficiency.
Wow.
So it's probably going to be an instrumental part of an infrastructure within the future.
Yeah.
So it's a twofold thing. We've got the iron on one side as supply chains become more difficult domestically for basic things like iron to feed into the steel industry, and the vanadium because the grid is probably going to electrify, and even if you have a fossil fuel based infrastructure, you still would need to store that energy, and you would do that through vanadium batteries.
Wow, interesting. Well, great. I think that provides shareholders a bit of an update on what's been going on. Is there anything else you'd like to get out there?
Nothing I'm allowed to disclose at the moment, unless I press released it. Yeah. So, but there's plenty of stuff coming out now, and as I say, I've got a lot of calls this week about updates, and unfortunately, if you just concentrate just on building stuff and the engineering side of things, you can leave people out and wondering what's going on. So
sure.
I'll keep everyone updated about what's going on. So.
And we'll do our best to help you do that as well. So thanks for coming, James. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much, Colton.
Thanks.